So before we get started with the selectors, let's first of all talk about the CSS syntax. All right. Now the CSS allows us to style up HTML elements. All right. So before we use the CSS selectors to find out HTML element, we need to first of all understand how the CSS works. All right. So this is the basic syntax of CSS. All right. So the CSS consists of a selector, which is the HTML element you want to style. So like I said, we are going to be talking about the different selectors that we can use to select HTML elements. So the CSS syntax consists of a selector, then preceded with a curly braces. Now this curly brace, right in between this curly brace, you can add your CSS property and value. So that means CSS consists of what? A property and a corresponding value. All right, that is what CSS consists of. A property and a corresponding value. So each property and value must be comma separated, or semicolon rather. Yeah, it must be semicolon separated. So right in between this property and value, within these curly braces, right in between these curly braces, you can add as many properties and values as possible. Okay, so you can add several depending on what you want to style. Now these properties, okay, such as your color, your font size, your background, your width, your height. All right, so these are pre-built CSS properties, okay? They are pre-built CSS properties. So your values are custom values based on what you want to achieve on a user interface. All right, so whenever you want to select HTML elements, you must use a selector. All right, you must use a selector. All right, then call up your curly braces. Then your selector should have what? A property that would be assigned a custom value. So for example, I can call up a custom value of property of a custom property of color. Then I add blue as my custom value. So probably I want my text to be blue in color, or I want a certain element to have a background, so I can still call up a background blue, or background red, or background crimson. Okay, so coming down here, so I can just say selector.txt. all right, so we can just include our selector, okay, then curly braces. All right, so right in between these curly braces, whatever CSS property we want to add, we can simply call up. So we can just call up a background. Then the property should have what? A column. All right, let's not forget about that column. Then we add our value. So I can say red. So each property and value must be comma separated, semicolon separated, sorry. All right, now I can hit the enter key and add other properties. All right, I can say text align. Probably we want to align our text. Or I can send it towards center and add another semicolon to close it. So every CSS property and value must end with a semicolon. Now this semicolon is known as what? End of statement. All right, the semicolon is known as end of statement. Okay, so that's basically how these CSS selectors are used. All right, so let's take a look at how we can add CSS into our HTML page.